Israeli propaganda war has failed. It has actually brought so many people out onto the streets in opposition to the destruction and the invasion of Gaza. I want to talk to you about a couple of things briefly. I want to talk to you about what this war is not about. It's not about rockets. It's not about mortar shells. It's not even about the ideology of Hamas. This war is about two things. It's about the Israeli elections on February the 10th. If you were in London last week, you would have heard my colleagues say that every bomb is an election leaflet for Zippy Livni and Kadima. Every bullet is an election leaflet on a party political broadcast. They heard Barack. They were terrified that Netanyahu was going to win, and their only solution was to go to war. And the second reason, the worst reason, is to prove the so-called deterrent power, as they put it, of the Israeli army. There's an article I've got here from this week's Times, the same day as our full-page ad went in, decrying the invasion, in which a lieutenant in the Israeli army says, "It's good to feel we are once again the most powerful army in the world." As if that in itself was not a dubious enough statement, how on earth do you prove yourself to be powerful? By sending F-16s, artillery shells, tanks and some of the most sophisticated weaponry in the world to kill over 1,000 civilians. That doesn't prove you're strong, it proves you're morally weak. I want to say about the people of Sderot, the people in Israel who have been on the receiving end of the Qassam rockets. You may have seen in newspapers and online a resident of the Negev saying that they know, despite the fear of the rockets, they know that this war is both unnecessary and unjust. They know that this is not the way to solve the problems. They know that the time when there was no rockets was when they negotiated a ceasefire. They know that Hamas offered to expand the ceasefire to the West Bank. But it was Israel that refused to deal with that because they had been planning this war for 6 months or more because they wanted to be able to attack Hamas in the West Bank in order to provoke the reaction they did. And it was Israel on November the 4th that broke the ceasefire by killing 7 members of Hamas in an airstrike in the northern Gaza Strip. Do not believe Mark Regev, do not believe the blonde major from the Israeli army, do not believe the propaganda from the Zionist Federation when they say Hamas broke the ceasefire. Because Hamas also offered to extend the ceasefire on the 23rd, but that didn't suit Israel's plans. This is a war that Israel wanted. I'll stop for a second. I want to say that I was in Sderot last year in Israel, and people there are driven to distraction by fear. Their babies and children are traumatised and bedwetting, and the town is a ghost town. 30% of the people have moved away. But that, of course, is the essential difference between Sderot and the southern Israeli towns and Gaza. Because the people there are traumatised, the people there have children who cannot sleep, the people there have children who are terrified, but they can't move away. They are trapped in one of the world's largest open-air prisons, ready to be murdered by Israeli weaponry. And that is why we are out on the streets today. That is why we will be out on the streets next week, and that is why we will demand that there should be an arms embargo on Israel. There is a petition going round, you must sign it. An indication of the double standards that are played, that people call for weapons not to be smuggled into Gaza. On one level that's fine, but you can't do that and at the same time send a ship full of weaponry to Israel. We have to apply the same standards. The previous speaker before spoke about every person born equal with the same rights, and we're out here because we're standing up for everyone to be able to exercise those rights, not just have them on paper, but to live in prosperity, to live in freedom, and to live in security. And that will only come when the occupation of the Gaza Strip and the occupation of the West Bank come to an end.